All right, there we go. I mean, we could have done a whole other basketball conversation, but today we'll stay on track.
We can't deter again. Oh my goodness.
This is going to turn into, who would have thought that I would be doing like a whole basketball podcast?
I didn't even think I would. Are you kidding me?
Like, I could totally see you doing it.
Not with how sports social media is these days. Like I'm not putting my sports opinion out there. It's just barbecue chicken alert. People are just going to destroy me for anything.
Or I could see you like playing, like, what is it, 2K, and like one of those gamers where you like live. Anyways, I could see you doing that.
One day. Yo, what's up, everybody?
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Office hours. How are we doing today? Hope everybody's doing all right. Hope you're staying safe out here. This is your man Sto, and actually, we have switched sides. Actually, now that I think about it, I didn't even realize this. Nora is over. I still can't get it right. Is over here.
That way.
There we go. And yeah, this is episode 12, guys. We appreciate 150 subscribers. I don't remember when we hit that, but I just noticed it the other day when I was looking through stuff. That's insane to me. I thought it would take multiple years to reach 100, to be completely honest. But here we are. How are we doing today, Nora?
I'm good. I've had a day of different like speaking and teaching and working with clients. So I'm like hyped and excited to be here with everyone. Folks, as you're joining in, feel free to introduce yourselves. Please remember that Sto and I come back and check our comments. So if you're not able to catch this live and you're watching the recap, still like introduce yourselves in the comments, ask us questions in the comments, let us know what kind of episodes you'd like to see us do in the future, topics you want us to talk about. And especially this one, because today we're talking about collaborations and networking and things like that. And so the comments are actually a great place to network and collaborate with like-minded people, because you're finding artists, in our case, artists who are independent, who are interested in collaborating. And so just looking at who's engaging with us, that already is going to give you some indicators of people that you might want to connect with also. Shout out to Serial Sensei, who's here with us. Good to see you, fam. So yeah, Sto, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I just realized that my mic isn't working the way I thought it was, so I'm just going to put that down. But yeah, you already know who it is. Big Sto, get a damn website. We're coming up on fourth quarter. No excuse not to get one. Follow me on Twitter at Big Sto, artist development, author, journalist, all around good guy. You already know what it is. Let's make it happen.
And I'm Nora Rahimian. I co-founded Culture Fix. I do one-on-one consulting for artists, helping them figure out how to be successful without selling your soul to a label, keep your financial freedom, keep your creative control, keep your personal integrity, and use your platform for social change. And so what Sto and I do with Office Hours every other week is just try to give artists, and I think a lot of what we offer applies to creative entrepreneurs very broadly. Try to offer folks some practical, tactical, tangible tips that you can use in your everyday. So please feel free to send in your questions and talk to us. We're talking today about collaborations. And maybe as a starting point, Sto, like why, I think especially in hip hop, sometimes there's so much competition and we think so heavily about like, oh, I got to one up people and competition and da 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 da. But really you get so much further when you collaborate with people. And so maybe just starting off on why collab is so important.
Yeah. So guys, literally as I'm saying this, I know it looks like I'm mad distracted and whatnot, but when me and Nora go live, we make sure that let me see if I can do this, and you can't really see it, but we make sure that we're tweeting that we're both live. One of the things, at least with us, is that we both touch completely, or not completely different audiences. Like now there's some crossover, but like there are people that follow her that don't follow me and vice versa. So when we tweet about each other, when we're doing an event or collaborating or anything like that, it's cross promotion and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So collaboration in general, I personally, it's one of my favorite parts of art and just content creation in general, because I don't know, for me, it's like, for every person that exists, we all have different experiences and things that we've learned and people that we've worked with and stuff like that. And like, for me and Nora, I've learned so much from her and so much from other people that I've worked with. That's unstoppable. I feel like, and so when you bring all of that together and actually put a product out, it's unstoppable in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think what collaboration allows you to do is maximize, especially for art. You might not have a ton of money, you might not have a ton of networks or resources. It allows you to pool and maximize what you're doing, and so there's kind of a doubling up that happens when you work with others, where half becomes two all of a sudden, in that kind of sense. And so there's an expansion and a maximizing. To Sto's point, there's cross-pollination and cross-promoting, where you don't have half your audience, you actually double it, right? I have all of Sto's, Sto has all of mine, and then you're able to grow exponentially. And then I think the other part about collaboration is that fans and audiences like to be in community. And so when they see artists that they like working with others, there's something about like, all right, cool, like this person is part of something outside of themselves. People like to see that. There's something kind of aspirational about that then fans can kind of also feel an affinity towards. And so there's so many benefits of collaborating. And so this idea, I think we hear in hip hop so often of like, oh, I did it myself, I got here by myself, is actually harmful if you're really trying to make it as an independent artist. So I want to get into this question or this topic of like, how do you identify the right people to collaborate with? And I think in this context, we'll talk about creative collaborations. We'll do a whole episode on building your team and like people to collaborate with on the business tip so much, but creatively. So what are some tips you offer to people in terms of identifying their collaborators?
I mean, I feel like in a lot of cases, it's really just about mindset. I feel like a lot of cats have this like, oh, well, if they don't sound exactly like me, or not necessarily exactly, but remotely like me, there's no reason for us to ever collaborate and stuff like that. And I've seen plenty of artists just shoot opportunities down because of that. And like, guys, whether it's sound or whether it's ideology or whatever, like just because someone thinks differently than you doesn't mean that you can't collaborate and whatnot. And so I think it just comes down to, like, for me, I'm down to work with anybody. So I can't pretend that I have this huge like filter or whatever, but for me, it just comes down to, can we actually work together and be on the same page not just in terms of the content that we're creating, but what we're how we're going to promote it. I feel like that's super important, and I'm sure we'll talk about that down the line today as well. But being able to communicate effectively and I guess just how you guys execute and work together, I feel like is the most important when it comes to identifying collaborators. I don't know. I always feel weird when cats are like, yo, like I gotta find the most viral dude to make sure that who has the highest numbers. And like even with the whole thing that's going on now with like rappers putting up on their Instagram like, yo, tag a rapper that's popping right now so they can charge them $3,000 for a verse. So yeah, like it's really just being on the same mindset and understanding that both parties have to put in the work. It's not a one-way street.
Yeah, I think the piece about there has to be some common ground. So you don't want to work with people. I mean, you can if people are like exactly the same as you. But collaboration is an opportunity to get creative and to enter new industries, enter new markets, enter new genres. So thinking about where is the commonality, and that commonality could be something around values, it could be something around common interests, it could be something around, hey, our audiences are both gamers, so like commonality in your niche. So really thinking about where there's a common point, but also exploring and really kind of leaning into where your differences are, because that's where your different markets are going to grow. And so some of the things to think about in terms of identifying collaborators is look at an artist that you like and look at who is following that artist and then just go through their like follower list and look at who are artists or creatives that you might want to connect with. Oh, their image looked nice or their name looked nice, and use that as an entry point. Another way to identify collaborators is to explore hashtags and look at who's using hashtags around, but maybe not like independent music hashtags. Find a hashtag that's a little more niche. Sneakerheads in Chicago, right?
Right.
Using some like niche hashtags to identify potential collaborators. I really want to stress that when you're collaborating, it's okay to collaborate with people outside of your genre. It's okay to collaborate with people outside of your medium. Like, what would it look like for a musician and a sneaker designer to work together, or a fashion line and and a producer like, you can get really, really creative. And so this opens up opportunities for new merch, new partnerships, I talked to someone who's thinking about doing a candle line as their merch release. So you can get really creative. But so as you think about identifying collaborators, think about the qualities that you want, where the commonalities are, but what are some of the differences that you can kind of exploit and lean into, because that's also going to be part of what makes a collaboration successful. Anything else on that, Snow, before we get into how to actually like approach a collaborator?
No, I think we covered it all, honestly.
So I think this is where it gets tricky. It's in some ways it's easy to be like, all right, here's my dream list of people I want to work with. And you should have that list. You should have a list of people who are like low-hanging fruit, easy to approach, easy accessible, and then people who are kind of medium tier, and then those like dream collaborations. That should be a list that you have somewhere that you look at and are actively engaging with. Approaching collaborators, I get a lot of people who are like, oh, we should connect. Okay, great. I would love to connect with you, but like, you haven't given me anything.
Exactly.
And so one is, if they're those kind of like mid-tier, high-tier people that you want to collaborate with, you can use social media to start to build a relationship so that that collaboration isn't so out of reach, right? So that you start to become familiar with that person. And we've talked before about how you can actually build relationships. So that's one. And then two is, when you do reach out to approach a potential collaborator, this is a business transaction. And so you want to treat it respectfully and professionally. Hi, my name is Nora. I'm a creative consultant. I want to work with you on creating this YouTube series for artists. I want to work with you specifically because I like the way you give information to people. Would you be interested in working together? Here's how we can move this forward. So being really specific, being really particular about why you're reaching out to that collaborator and what you would like the collaboration to be. And then being proactive about, here's how we can do to move this conversation forward. You don't just want to be like, here's a link, let's collab, let's link. I can't do anything with that. And it also indicates to me that it might not be as easy to work with you as I would like. So really kind of taking time to build a relationship before you make an ask. So what would you say? I know you get a lot of these kinds of requests as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much nailing it. I mean, it's really about, it's also about what you bring to the table too. I can't tell you how many cats hit me up on some, all right, like, yo, like, let's, like you just said, like, let's build, let's network, let's do this, let's do that. It's like, I'm down for that. Like, let's make it happen. But if you aren't bringing anything to the table, it's not a collaboration. I'm just working for you for free. Like, you're not like, and here's the other thing. It's like, you're not going to shout me out. You're not going to, let people know like, yo, Sto's the one that helped me out, like all this jazz. Like, so where's the actual collaboration in that? That's what it comes down for me. And we talk about this on so many different episodes, is like, you have to build that trust. And it sucks to say, but like, one of the reasons why you're hitting us up to work is because you trust us to do so. So when it comes down to, all right, like, I need you to do this, this, and this for me, it's like, all right, but it genuinely is like, all right, well, what are you gonna help me out at all? Like, are you gonna, are you gonna give me anything to work with? Because genuinely, let's link, let's network, all that stuff. I hear that daily at this point. And 9 times out of 10, or not 9 times, but I'll say what, 6, 7 times out of 10, like that conversation ends up going nowhere because they then realize, oh, wait, I have to pay or I have to come up with something in order to work with this person. It's like, well, yeah, that's how it works. That's how it's supposed to work. Again, guys, like even when you fast forward to when you're releasing your project or whatever you're doing, you're expecting an exchange for that. You're not just expecting people to just take the project, bounce, and say nothing. You're expecting money or even a share of a tweet or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It can't just be this I'm gonna take, and then not give anything back, because eventually that is gonna come back around. We've also talked about this. People talk. Go ahead, Nora. Go ahead.
So I want to kind of expand this idea of what like compensation and exchange looks like.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think, you want to think about what's the most valuable thing that you can get out of an exchange. And especially for artists who are just starting out and you want to someone approaches you to collaborate or you want to collaborate with someone, maybe money isn't the most valuable thing. Maybe really the most valuable thing in that exchange is co-creating something, right? So there's a subtle difference between I'm doing something, I want you to come and give me a verse and then leave, and this is mine. Right. There's value in that, right? Versus something where we say, hey, let's create something together where we're both co-creating equal, or, and this is ours. And you want to think about what is going to give you the greatest return for what you need where you're at in that stage of being an artist. And sometimes in the beginning, it's not money. It's, hey, let's do a verse for verse exchange. Let's make sure we've talked about our expectations around how we credit one another, how we tag one another, how we're going to promote this together, so that what you're really getting out of this relationship is the cross-pollination, is the cross-promotion. And I think sometimes artists go into it without having honest conversations about that, or they're like, pay me. And they're disappointed about why that collaboration didn't go the way that it did. I negotiated something for a fairly big artist who wanted to work with someone, but they didn't want the money. They wanted this kind of exchange. And what ended up happening in the exchange is that both their markets grew in really significant ways. He did a feature for her, she did a feature for him, and right? So you're thinking about what the value is versus just like the monetary exchange. The key part of that is you have to be able to have those conversations early on. Hey, I don't have a budget, but I would like us to co-create, and here's what those expectations are.
Right.
The same way you talk about what your splits are going to look like, you should talk about how are we going to promote this? What's the marketing timeline? Who's going to create the assets? Are we going to tag each other? Are we, all of that stuff is just as important. And so you want to make sure you're intentional about having that conversation, because that's where oftentimes I find when I hear from artists, that's where the disappointment, hey, I did this track, blah, 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 but they didn't credit me. Right. Okay. Did you talk about that? Did you,
Right.
Sorry, were you going to say something still?
Oh, no. All I was going to genuinely say is rewind that back, because honestly, on my end, for me, I do talk a lot about the financial side of things, but Nora's portion about how there's other things, the signal dropped. Hopefully it's still okay. Actually, I can pull it up on my phone real quick. Is that it doesn't have to be money. There's other things that you can do to okay.
Sorry, I definitely read that as the single dropped. And I was like, oh, are people in here like promoting their albums? But that said signal, not single.
Right. Right. No, I pulled it up on my phone. It seems to be okay. But yeah, there's other ways to compensate aside from money. So that's definitely something to talk about. But again, you have to remember that in that conversation, like if maybe they don't value a verse, or value, maybe a graphic or whatever it is you're trying to push as view that as the same as what you're trying to get out of them or whatever. So that's something that you have to understand as well. I didn't explain that very well, but hopefully you get the point. But again, rewind Nora's part back, because there are other ways to compensate outside of dollar bills. Genuinely.
Yeah. Have you ever done something not for money when it just felt like a good vibe?
Yeah. Absolutely. And for me, in a lot of cases, that's what people don't understand. I feel like a lot of cats seem to have this conception that like, oh, Sto, you're so mean, and why are you so mean to artists? I don't get it. But genuinely, if you could come correct and are respectful and stuff like that, like I have no problem like just dropping game and stuff like that. Like I get that. We're in a pandemic, folks. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like my whole goal is to hopefully get you guys in a better position when this is all over. But yeah, it's all about that genuine communication and trust. We talk about trust on here all the time. Like that's what gets those collaborations to be less about money and more about, all right, like let's work this out and let's see how we can compensate each other and really talk about that. Like, yeah, like if you're if you're Joe Schmo from the Alamo and you're just approaching somebody out of nowhere and they don't know who you are and like all this other jazz, like one of the first things they're gonna come to you with is like, all right, well, how much you paying me for it? But if you take the time to cultivate and build that relationship genuinely without, and I think Nora says this all the time, is like you can build without asking. Like it sucks, and I get it. Like maybe you're trying to get a verse, maybe you're trying to get X, Y, Z. But it takes time. And sometimes if you take that time to build that relationship, you can get more than just that one verse you were looking for. You can get a whole relationship that turns into something that's valuable that you can carry throughout the course of your whole career.
And that's the part about, so this goes back to something we talk about all the time, is if you plan ahead, you know, okay, I'm going to drop this album. I want so-and-so to be a feature, and I want to release it in 6 months. So now you have 6 months to build a relationship, to connect with this person, to genuinely build authentically and genuinely build a connection, so that then you can make the ask, versus you're like, oh shit, gotta get this album out. I have a month left. Hi, Sto, can you do this for me? Thanks, bye. So the planning ahead allows you to really kind of build that relationship before you have to make an ask. And I think the other thing is thinking about what is in your long-term vision. And is it just like you just want to get singles out? Cool, no one's knocking it. Or is there a bigger picture? Are you trying to build a community? Are you trying to be part of something? I've worked with people where there's no budget, but I'm like, that's fine. I believe in you. I believe I'm investing in our future together. So you're getting my time and service and labor for free. But in the future, I know that it's going to give me a return. And so this is also like, we talk a lot about planning ahead, but also thinking ahead a little bit in terms of how you want to position yourself, especially in an industry like this where relationships are so valuable. Sometimes it's how you show up and treat people that's going to give you something back in the long run. Of course, like don't do anything to burn yourself out, but just thinking, if you take nothing away from today's conversation, take away the fact that I want you to think differently about collaborations and relationships, that beyond just being the one-to-one transaction, really allowing space for them to grow and breathe and kind of like permeate how you engage with people, so that they might give you a return 6 months from now, 6 years from now, down the line. Indirectly, they might introduce you to someone who introduces you to someone who takes you to someone, these kind of non-linear loop-de-loop-de-loop
the 9 degrees is real.
Yeah, I think honestly, in this world, I think it's even less than that.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to be intentional, and you have to be, and you also, I think it's important to be proactive, like cultivate those relationships. If all you're doing is, going back to what we talked about, starting to kind of identify and establish those relationships, if all you're doing is scrolling on my Twitter or watching Sto's Instagram or whatever, you're passively consuming us.
Right.
But we're not interacting.
Right.
Right? There's no feedback loop. And so you have to be proactive about reaching out, creating touch points, creating contact opportunities. Get in the comments, show up in the chats, respond to tweets, send thoughtful DMs, like start having those conversations where you can start to connect with people, and that relationship becomes two-way rather than you're just consuming, passively consuming. I think a lot of times people get this false sense of intimacy because they read you all the time or they see you all the time, but there's no exchange.
Right.
And so collaboration really at its core starts with some kind of exchange, but it has to be two-way. And so really think about that. And I said, that's ways like comment on people's posts, share, tag them, amplify their work, all those kinds of things. Just real quickly, I want to say welcome to the folks who are here with us on Office Hours with Nora and Sto. We're talking about collaborations today. So please feel free to send in your questions about this or about other things as we're talking today. Anything else, Sto, that you think is important for people to, I think we've talked a little bit about how to leverage those collaborations. Are there things that you find artists often overlook or don't think about when it comes to collaborations?
I mean, to go along with like kind of the communication thing that you're saying that we were talking about earlier, it's just post promotion, yo. I can't tell you how many collaborations I see that don't get cross promoted. And I'm not saying you have to do anything crazy, but it's like, yo, if you, and again, it comes down to planning in advance, because like Nora said before, like if you're coming in and you're unorganized, I feel like a lot of cats get this kind of like, oh snap, like so-and-so is kind of popping right now, so let me get a collab with them real quick. Like,
yeah.
Like you just kind of see some stuff out of nowhere and like, yeah, let me make that happen. Like that's, of course you're going to get billed for that. Like they don't know who you are. But if you have those collabs planned in advance, even if you don't necessarily know them at the time of planning, you can start to build that relationship as you go along. And then maybe when the time comes, maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but you've at least started to build the foundation towards that relationship versus just being like, oh snap, so-and-so is hot, so let me see if I can get a collab real quick. But then after the collab or whoever, even if it's peers and friends, like that's what I see a lot, are friends collaborating, but then they never share the track or never share the trailer or never share the entire video or whatever they worked on together. You guys were in the studio together. You guys did a music video together, all this other stuff, but it's only a one-side collab. That doesn't make sense. So, talking about post-promotion and when a product is actually done and out and how you guys are going to move that, I think is super important. And I think that is something that artists overlook, because here's the thing, then if it blows up, the featured artist is like, well, hold up, how come you didn't give me credit? Well, hold up, you weren't even here to help me promote the track. I did that all myself. You showed the verse and like, yeah, you get credit for that, but like, where were you this whole time? So I don't know. That I think is really important too.
Yeah, and have those conversations on the front end.
Yeah, exactly.
The other, you mentioned like working with your friends, and I think so often when people want to collaborate, they look like up, right? They want to network up. Right. But really look at like who's in your peer group, who are the people around you, and start there. And get creative. And collaboration doesn't have to be get on my track, I'll get on your track. Collaboration can be, hey, we're just going to commit to amplifying each other's projects. I'll talk about everything you do, you talk about everything I do, and let's just boost each other. Collaboration, collaboration can look like a ton of things. Hey, let's design some merch together and like go half and half. Like you can get, I think one of the things that I always find so interesting is that here we are as creatives and artists, and yet everyone just does the same, cookie cutter approach to everything. And so get creative. Serial Sensei says, I don't understand not being hype and sharing your collab. You went out of the way to work with this person and you're not sharing the work, then what was the point? And not just sharing your final product, share your process with me. Tell me how you met. Tell me how, here's a meeting of us behind the scenes. Here's what it looks like with us, like in Zoom meetings. Here we are, like just cracking jokes. Like, show me that process so that I'm curious and invested, not just in like, oh, what the song is going to be like, but what's your chemistry together? What's your energy together? Those are all things that make people excited for collaboration. And it's also things like making sure you have all the assets to promote. So if Sto and I are working together and I'm creating the flyer, if I don't intentionally share the flyer with Sto and say, hey, Sto, here's the flyer. I'm going to promote it on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then send out an email blast. Here's the hashtag we're using. Sto can't, bless you. If I don't give Sto the tools to promote our project, Sto's not going to be able to promote the project. So making sure that you think about those kinds of things around assets and marketing plans and things like that. Bless you.
Sorry.
Okay. So I think collaboration is a big long-term conversation.
Right.
This is office hours. I might give y'all a little piece of homework if you want it for the next couple weeks. Is definitely, if you don't have this already, make a list of your like easy to reach people, pretty accessible, maybe kind of hard to reach people, and then really hard to reach your like goal kind of tier collaborators, and start to engage with them. Make sure you're following them, make sure you're talking back to them, engaging with them. So your homework, your office hours homework is to make the list and start to engage with those people in meaningful ways, right? You don't want to spam them. You don't want to troll them, but in meaningful ways, start to have conversations so that you start to become familiar to them. So y'all, thanks for hanging out with us today on office hours. I know there's a basketball game some of us want to watch in like 10 minutes.
Is it really 10 minutes? Oh my God.
It's like 18 minutes.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I was about to like, what?
I'm being mindful. But y'all, thanks for hanging out with us on office hours today. As always, if you subscribe to the channel, if you have topics you want us to cover and to talk about, please send those to me and Sto, or drop them in the comments. We'd love for this to be as interactive as it can be, except for Serial Sensei, who's talking shit about the Clippers, and we can't be, they are not going home. They are going to win the series.
I need my man Jokic to come through. Let's go. Jokic, let's go.
There will be no Clippers hate during office hours. This is a safe space. As we slowly transition into a basketball podcast. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
Any final words, Sto?
Yeah, yo, guys, listen, we got to keep our masks on. I've seen too many people being too comfortable out here, and I don't like it. It's making me scared. Second, make sure you follow us both on Twitter and Instagram. We really appreciate the support. Again, keep your eye on the Twitter. Me and Nora are working on some things. We got some things in the pipeline. I'm actually very excited about. Not going to reveal it here. We'll reveal it, hopefully another time. But honestly, keep on the lookout. You know what I'm saying? Because we want you guys to be ready here in 2021, and we got some stuff cooking. But seriously, get some rest. Shit just keeps getting crazier and crazier. November's right around the corner, so it's only going to get even crazier from here. So take some time to rest and relax. Do something that you enjoy. Take care of yourself. Put on a mask and arrest the damn cops that killed Breonna Taylor. Damn it. I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of it. I can't take it. This whole settlement bullshit. That's not enough. Tired of it. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys here in a couple weeks. All right.
Thanks, y'all. We'll see you soon.
All right. Peace.